My name is Sarah Mitchell, and for 7 years, I let my family believe I was nothing more than a janitor at Horizon Tech, one of Boston's fastest-growing technology companies. The truth? I was building a $50 million empire right under their noses. The story begins at another dreaded family gathering, my cousin Olivia's engagement party at the prestigious Boston Harbor Hotel. I adjusted my simple dress, bought on clearance to maintain my carefully crafted image of struggling to make ends meet. Around me, success practically dripped from the walls. Doctors, lawyers, executives, all sharing the same last name, all looking down at the family's greatest disappointment. Sarah, there you are. My Aunt Margaret's voice cut through the crowd, dripping with false sympathy. We were just talking about everyone's achievements this year. Thomas made partner at his law firm. Olivia's running the marketing department at Goldman Sachs. And Catherine just bought her second vacation home in the Hamptons. She paused, her eyes scanning my clearance rack dress and scuffed shoes. And you're still cleaning offices, right, dear? I took a sip of my cheap champagne, forcing myself not to react. If only she knew that the office I cleaned was my own $2 million penthouse office suite, where I ran Vision Tech Solutions, one of the most innovative software companies in the country. Yes, Aunt Margaret. Still cleaning offices at Horizon Tech. Oh, honey, she patted my arm with practiced condescension. Have you thought about going back to school? I'm sure we could all pitch in to help you get a real career. Behind her, my cousins barely concealed their smirks. I thought about the contract I'd signed just that morning, a $15 million deal that would revolutionize supply chain management for half the Fortune 500 companies. But I just smiled and nodded. Thanks, Aunt Margaret. I'll think about it. The truth was 7 years ago, I had made a choice that would change everything. After graduating with honors in computer science and business administration, I turned down a prestigious job offer from Google. My family was furious. You're throwing your life away, my father had shouted. All that education wasted. Instead, I took a small inheritance from my grandmother, the only person who ever truly believed in me, and started Vision Tech Solutions. But I knew my family. They would want to be involved, demand positions they weren't qualified for, try to control everything. So I made a decision. I created an alter ego, Alexandra Phoenix, the mysterious CEO of Vision Tech. Sarah Mitchell, the founder's real identity, became nothing more than a janitor at Horizon Tech, a company that, ironically, was now one of our biggest clients. Sarah, come here. My mother's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She stood with a group of relatives, all wearing designer labels and subtle disdain. Tell everyone what happened when you tried to apply for that receptionist position. I remembered the interview she was talking about. I had actually been meeting with Horizon Tech's CEO about acquiring their AI division, but I let them believe I had embarrassed myself trying to move up from janitorial work. It didn't work out, I said simply. Of course it didn't, my cousin Catherine sneered. You need actual skills for that kind of position. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a moment alone. In my purse, my phone buzzed with urgent messages about tomorrow's board meeting. We were about to announce our biggest acquisition yet, a $30 million deal that would double our company's value overnight. Looking in the mirror, I adjusted my deliberately cheap jewelry. The deception had started as a necessity, but now it had become almost like a social experiment. How long could I maintain this double life? How long before someone discovered that the mysterious Alexandra Phoenix, the woman revolutionizing the tech industry, was actually their poor cousin Sarah? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus, my VP of operations. Sarah, we need your sign-off on the final acquisition papers. The press release is ready for tomorrow. I texted back quickly. I'll review everything tonight. Make sure the Forbes photographer is confirmed for the cover shoot. Yes, tomorrow Forbes magazine would announce Vision Tech's latest acquisition, complete with my first ever public photo as CEO. My family's carefully maintained illusions about me were about to shatter spectacularly. Returning to the party, I found my father in deep conversation with Uncle Robert about investments. The tech sector is booming, Uncle Robert boasted. My portfolio manager says this company Vision Tech is the one to watch. Their CEO, Alexandra Phoenix, is apparently a genius. Complete recluse though, nobody knows much about her. I hid in a smile behind my champagne glass. If only they knew that the mysterious Alexandra Phoenix was standing right here, in her $50 clearance dress, being pitied by the entire family. Speaking of work, my mother cut in, "Sarah, honey, isn't it time you started looking for something more ambitious? I heard Walmart is hiring store managers." The room erupted in poorly concealed laughter. I thought about the 300 employees who worked for me, the revolutionary software we were developing, the millions in revenue we generated monthly. "I like my job, Mom," I said quietly. "It pays the bills." "Barely," my sister Jane coughed. "Look at your clothes, your car. Don't you want more from life?" More? I thought about my penthouse apartment, my vacation home in the Maldives, the private jet I used for business trips. But out loud, I just shrugged. "Some people are meant for success," Aunt Margaret said, patting my hand again. "Others, well, we can't all be achievers, can we?" I checked my watch, knowing I had to leave early. Tomorrow's announcement would change everything, and I needed to review the final documents. "Leaving already?" Catherine called out as I headed for the door. "Hot date with a mop and bucket." I turned back one last time, taking in their smug faces, their certainty of their own superiority. Tomorrow, they would all learn the truth. Tomorrow, they would discover that the cousin they'd mocked for 7 years was actually one of the most successful CEOs in Boston. But tonight, I just smiled and said, "Something like that." As I drove home in my deliberately modest car, my Ferrari was safely parked in my private garage. I thought about how everything would change after tomorrow's Forbes announcement. The carefully constructed facade I'd maintained for 7 years was about to crumble. Part of me would miss the simplicity of being just Sarah, the janitor. But a bigger part of me couldn't wait to see their faces when they realized just how wrong they'd been about me all these years. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The morning of the Forbes announcement, I arrived at VisionTech's headquarters early. My real office, not the janitorial closet my family thought I worked from, occupied the entire top floor of a gleaming skyscraper in downtown Boston. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city I'd conquered in secret. "The photographer will be here in an hour," Marcus said, walking in with a stack of papers. "Are you ready for this? 7 years of anonymity ends today." I smoothed down my Tom Ford suit, no more clearance rack clothes, and nodded. "It's time. Is everything else prepared?" "Press release is scheduled for 9 a.m. Forbes will go live with the article at the same time. The acquisition paperwork is signed and filed." And he grinned. "Your family's company-wide email addresses are all on the distribution list." I had specifically waited for this day to reveal myself. Not just because of the Forbes cover, but because today VisionTech would announce its acquisition of Horizon Tech, the very company my family thought I cleaned floors for. The irony was almost poetic. The Forbes photo shoot went smoothly. I chose to be photographed at my desk, the Boston skyline behind me, looking every inch the successful CEO I truly was. No more hiding, no more pretending. At exactly 9 a.m., the news broke. Tech's mysterious bio in Meet Alexandra Phoenix, the real Sarah Mitchell. My phone immediately exploded with notifications. First came the industry reactions, other CEOs, investors, and business journalists all expressing shock that the reclusive Alexandra Phoenix was actually a 32-year-old woman who built her empire in complete secrecy. Then came the family messages. Aunt Margaret, "Sarah, please tell me this is some kind of joke." Catherine, "This can't be real. You are Alexandra Phoenix?" Mom, "Call me immediately." Dad, "Why didn't you tell us?" I ignored them all. Instead, I watched the numbers roll in as VisionTech's stock price soared on the acquisition news. By 10 a.m., my net worth had increased by another $20 million. The office door burst open. Jane, my sister, stood there looking like she'd seen a ghost. She must have rushed over from her law firm 10 blocks away. "How?" she demanded, her designer handbag clutched like a shield. "How is this possible?" I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the role reversal. "Can I help you? Do you have an appointment?" "An appointment? I'm your sister." "Oh," I raised an eyebrow. I thought I was just the family disappointment who couldn't even get a receptionist job. She flushed red. "That's not, we didn't." "Security," I pressed the intercom. "Please escort my sister out. She doesn't have an appointment." As security led her away, I heard her yell, "Mom and Dad are devastated." How could you lie to us for 7 years? The day continued in a blur of press interviews, congratulatory calls, and more angry messages from family members. By afternoon, my parents had shown up at the lobby, demanding to see me. I had security bring them up. They entered my office looking shell-shocked, their eyes darting around the luxurious space that shattered their perception of their failed daughter. 7 years, my father said quietly. You let us believe you were struggling, that you were. A disappointment, I finished for him. Yes, I did. And you all believed it so easily, didn't you? My mother sank into one of the visitor chairs. But why? Why didn't you tell us? We're family. I stood up, walking to the window. Do you remember what happened when I turned down the Google job? You told everyone I was throwing my life away. You ridiculed my decision to start my own company. We were worried about you, my father protested. No, I turned to face them. You were worried about appearances, about what the family would think, so I decided to show you exactly what appearances are worth. But the deception, my mother began, was necessary. I cut in. Look at cousin Thomas. When he started his law firm, the entire family demanded jobs, investments, favors. Look at Olivia's marketing agency. Half the employees are unqualified relatives. I built this company on merit, not blood ties. My father's face hardened. So what now? You've had your revenge, humiliated the entire family. Revenge? I laughed. This was never about revenge. This was about building something extraordinary without interference. And I succeeded. Just then, my phone buzzed. The stock had risen another 15%. Now, I said, sitting back down, I have a board meeting to prepare for. Unless you'd like to schedule an actual appointment, I'll have security show you out. They left in silence, but I knew this wasn't over. The family messages continued pouring in, shifting from anger to attempts at reconciliation, all transparently motivated by my newly public success. Aunt Margaret, darling, I always knew you were special. Remember how I offered to help with school? Catherine, cuz, let's do lunch. I have some amazing investment opportunities to discuss. Uncle Robert, your old uncle could use some help with his portfolio. I archived them all without responding. 7 years of condescension couldn't be erased by a single day of revelations. A week later, I received an invitation to a family dinner to celebrate Sarah's success. The card read. I thought about declining, but curiosity won out. I arrived in my Ferrari wearing clothes that cost more than their monthly mortgages. The contrast from the last family gathering couldn't have been more stark. Instead of pitying looks and condescension, I was greeted with fawning attention and desperate attempts to discuss business opportunities. Sarah, Aunt Margaret rushed forward, arms open. You look wonderful. I was just telling everyone how I always believed in you. Really? I smiled coldly. Is that why you told the entire country club I was an embarrassment to the family name? She faltered. I never. 3 months ago. I continued. You suggested I apply for a janitorial position at your country club because, and I quote, at least it's honest work. The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Catherine approached next, all previous smugness replaced with artificial warmth. Sarah, I've been thinking about your incredible journey. Have you considered investing in my new startup? Actually, I replied, I have considered it. Just like I've considered every mocking comment, every dismissive gesture, and every time you made me feel small. The answer is no. My mother tried to salvage the situation. Sarah, honey, we're all so proud of you now. Now, I raised an eyebrow. That's the problem, isn't it? You're proud now that I'm successful, now that I'm in Forbes, now that I'm worth millions. But where was that pride when you thought I was struggling? I looked around the room at their faces, some ashamed, others calculating, all realizing too late what they'd lost through years of judgment and condescension. I built my company on principles of merit, innovation, and genuine value, I announced to the room. Not on family obligations or misplaced loyalty. So no, I won't be investing in anyone's startups. I won't be handing out jobs or favors. The time to support me was 7 years ago, when you thought I had nothing to offer except a mop and bucket. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Catherine, the next time you want to mock someone's job, remember this. That janitor you laughed at now owns the building where you work. I'm doubling everyone's rent next month. The aftermath of my revelation reshaped our family dynamics forever. Some relatives tried desperately to maintain connections, hoping to benefit from my success. Others retreated in wounded pride, spreading rumors about how I'd changed, but I hadn't changed at all. I was the same person I'd always been, determined, capable, and worthy of respect. The only difference was that now they could no longer pretend otherwise. Vision Tech continued to grow. Within a year of the Forbes reveal, we'd expanded internationally, and our valuation had reached $500 million. I remained CEO, running the company with the same principles that had guided me from the start. Every now and then, I drive past my family members in my Ferrari, watching them recognize too late that success isn't about appearances or family names. It's about vision, determination, and the courage to build something extraordinary, even if you have to do it in secret.